Hello and welcome to the LA Venture Podcast. We're David Waxman and Minnie Ingersoll, partners and investors at TenOneTen.
Adam Lilling is with me. He's the founder and managing partner at Plus Capital, where he works with celebrities who want to invest in growing companies. Adam is one of the original LA startup people, previously starting Launchpad LA with Mark Suster and Peter Lee. He was the founder of Pazanga and Pentagon CDs, which was one of the first internet sites to sell CDs and tapes online. Super cool. Adam, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So just to set context here, we are a couple weeks in from George Floyd's killing, and I just wanted to start by saying, how are you doing? Where is your head at today?
I was at a protest with my wife and two daughters over the weekend, and you know, your heart goes out to everybody that has been fighting this fight for so long. I mean, we at Plus Capital put out a statement. It's not hard to know what to say. It's hard to because you're just not in someone's shoes. Like, I feel like I'm somebody with a lot of empathy. I think people that know me know I really care about other people. But in this situation, it's amazing to see the momentum building across the world. I mean, there's been flashpoints so many times and just nothing happens. And people say, well, you shouldn't protest and you shouldn't, do anything but it makes a difference. So I'm just, hoping that change comes. That's it. But my wife was saying this to me the other day, like, you have to be vocal. And I'm not. I'm more of an action than vocal person, but I've listened a lot in the last week, especially, or 2 weeks. I just think you have to be vocal. You can't be quiet. And that's not my nature, but I'm doing a lot more talking and a lot more statements and a lot more standing up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, just opening up every day, opening up Twitter and watching what's going on the streets with police and protesters. It's hard not to feel angry.
Last night was a lot of things have gotten to me and choked me up, but last night, I tweeted about it last night. I retweeted somebody else, babynames.com, which I used to name my kid, both my kids. I just sat there and looked at names, and they put on their homepage all the names of, not all, but like dozens and dozens of names of Black men and women that got killed by police, and just saying that these were somebody's baby too. And I still get my hair on when I saw that, just thinking of that, because it's just so real. It's like, as a parent, it's important to think of everybody else as you would like your child, like they matter.
Yeah, that is tingly.
And here we are talking about venture capital, by the way, which, has terrible statistics for Black venture capitalists and Black founders, both male and female, in terms of dollars that go against it. And even the things that we're seeing seem a little tokenized right now. Like, I really believe it's an ethos you have to have in each firm. Even at our firm, like on the female founder side, I think 42% of the founders or co-founders that are backed by an artist or an athlete at Plus is female. I'm a big believer that there should be balance, and I think you just have to do it. I mean, and then the statistics will change. It's just hard to keep talking about it. I think you have to have it in your ethos.
Absolutely. But I started by saying a little bit about Plus, but help me characterize what you're doing when you're backing these founders and connecting them with celebrities.
Well, it was about 2012. Mark Suster had started Launchpad LA in 2009 and brought me in as a co-founder to run the mentorship program with him. And then we brought in Sam Teller to run and co-found the accelerator. I was lucky to invest in 40 or 50 companies with him and Mark and Peter Lee and Jim Edelman and the team of the investment team that was backing Launchpad companies. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my next 20 years. And I was mentor-in-chief at Launchpad. I mentored the startup. So I always used to say, you need a mission and a minimum viable product, and then you'll figure out the business. And I had been a founder since 1995, and it was always the business, not necessarily the mission. So I just stopped. And one day I was waiting. I mean, this is the real story. One day I was waiting at a friend's movie premiere. I wasn't a Hollywood guy. I just happened to have a couple friends in Hollywood. And an infamous person walked out of the bathroom as I was waiting for my wife. And I said, wow, she can do more to affect change in the world in a day than most people can in a lifetime. So if we could combine the amplification of people who can affect that change and tie it back to the best operators and entrepreneurs, I just thought that was my mission. I thought I could move the world forward faster by teaming up with the people who could speak where I wasn't blogging or posting like the marks of the world. That's not who I am. I just wanted to say, you have a voice, you have a passion. Let me help you get behind, the person who's the better operator than me too. I was never the best operator. I never had the biggest voice, but I really felt like those two needed to come together.
Got it. And so by bringing them together, I don't really understand the basics of sort of how a celebrity, in this case, they're actually investing money in exchange for equity, but they're also lending their brand name, or they're lending
you
their
actually
voice.
asked me what does Plus Capital do, and I just gave you the mission, but not the actual product. So yeah, there you go. It actually started as a small fund where we had limited partners that were artists and athletes and their business managers and their entertainment attorneys. And we started to just test the thesis of how this worked. The product that we have today really falls under investing your financial capital and or your sweat equity into great venture-backed companies. We also have a second part, which is we advise celebrities on all things startup. So we advise Ellen DeGeneres on Ed by Ellen, or Portia, her wife Portia de Rossi, on her company General Public, which is the art that's behind here. That on my, you can't see it because it's audio, but on the video there's a art on my wall, and it's sold in RH. We have B-Say with Zoe Saldana. We have like 8 or 9 companies where we advise celebrities on them being founder, but 50 plus companies, we usually have the artist or athlete invest in a top quartile venture-backed company post-product market fit, where they can be more gas on the fire, helping with customer acquisition, business development, press, things that once you've got the product nailed. We will have an artist or an athlete invest all the way through to pre-seed or seed, but typically like the sweet spot for what we do is we figure out how to construct the involvement of an artist or an athlete in a venture-backed company, because there's a lot of intricacies to use of name, use of time, use of social platforms, all the things that go along with their money, and that's where we specialize.
And so is that a company that's raising a round of financing and the artist invests and becomes, on the cap table during a round of financing, or it might be at any point getting involved?
It's at any point in time. Sometimes it's during a round. Usually there's a power to having an artist or an athlete on the cap table in the right way. There's no power if you do it in the wrong way. The one thing that I think we do differently than it used to be in the past, when I started, actually, one of the people at Google Ventures, this is probably 2012, said we did a study and it looks like celebrities have no effect on the success or failure of a business. And so I dug in a little bit with them. I go, what stage are you talking about? Like 70% of companies are going to have a pivot. Your first products are never going to be your long-term product. You've got to wait for product market fit. So it's hard to say, I love this product. Okay, now it's this product, but I love it now. So there's this moment in time for a venture-backed company. That could be Series A, B, C, G. It depends. But you're finding that product market fit, and then all of a sudden it feels like magic. And you're like, I need everybody behind me that I can. And so our job is to find who is authentically a believer in what this person is doing. Who has the right engagement and audience to bring that message worldwide? And how do you then set it up so that they can help use the infrastructure use their voice tied to their existing initiatives? Like if it's just a social post, it's not going to go anywhere. If there's a marketing spend, then all of a sudden celebrity is a growth hack, as we like to call it, all of a sudden makes sense. Or you're trying to get into that really big retailer or that big partner, having a big name celebrity say, I'd like to take a meeting with you, CEO of that company. You want to drive an enterprise deal? Let me tell you, we have athletes that can sit in a room, and we have artists that can sit in a room and close a 7 or 8 figure SaaS contract.
So like the artist or athlete will actually take a meeting, will show up and be there with. Got it. Interesting.
We really focus on, at the highest level, things that are better for the planet and the beings that are on it. We don't call ourselves an impact fund, but we just want to know, here's the line in the sand. We always want to be on this side, on the right side of it. But it usually translates into 5 key areas for us: the future of work, the future of education, the conscious consumer, health and wellness is a general category, and sustainability is a general category. Those are the 5 pillars that we know across the board, whether it's veganism for Ellen and Portia, who have or plant-based protein with Ellen and Portia because it's part of their very good ventures that we help them invest in, or Sean White doing better sleep and better eating nutrition for what he's doing.
And so these celebrities have already sort of had to go through this process of deciding on the causes that they care about. And I ask that, and it sounds obvious, but sometimes, like at a company, we go through these value discovery exercises, and it's just not obvious.
Well, yes and no. I mean, like, there are people who have pillars that they walk in the door with, but many times we'll go through an exercise. Like when we kick off with an artist or an athlete, we'll spend an hour to 3 hours just talking about what their hobbies are, what they do at 11 o'clock at night when no one's paying them and they would be using their own money for it, or what are the brands that they love, whether or not they're endorsing them or not. Like in the world we live in, it's all about authenticity. So it doesn't matter. Like the world is like, we just caught a wave. The world in social media had shifted from, you can get $5-10 million a year from a brand whether you liked it or not. Now you got to go on social media and talk about it, and it's got to be authentic to you. So we come along and say, hey, I know you don't really love that company. We'll make you in the long run more if you just throw yourself money-wise and sweat into the company you love. So it's a lot of the beginning is just figuring out why they love what they love and why they care about what they care about. And then us figuring out how to connect the dots back to why companies need, scale partners or amplification partners.
And like when you're talking about scale partners, I don't know the world of celebrity or influencers very well. What sort of scale are you talking about, and how much influence are they expected to bring, and how much reach are they expected to have?
By the way, it's not a silver bullet. Like it's nowhere near it. It's part of a larger plan, right? If you're going to spend this year 10, 20, $30 million in customer acquisition marketing, and you're looking at a CAC of $50, can a celebrity or an artist or an athlete help you bring the CAC down to $30 or $35 for 500,000 people that you're going to go reach out to? Like, maybe a lot of times, yes, if you do it correctly. It's not the organic post. It's not the, hey, I'm going to show up at this event and shake hands. It's not the traditional endorsement stuff. It's taking the audience. It's taking the awareness. It's taking the trust. It's taking those building blocks and putting that in to what the company's, plans are in the right way.
Got it. And I'm interested to ask more about celebrity, but I'm going to stick on just like technical stuff here. And so you then, as Plus Capital, will often then sort of co-invest at the same time.
Yeah. So first, we're always in this world. There's a lot of people that have, play on both sides, right? They'll work with a brand and they'll work with an artist. We have a mission that's about artist first, right? Or an athlete first. So the first thing we think about is what's best for the artist or the athlete. What is the right company? How do we get them involved in it? And if it fits a certain criteria, for us, it's usually like Series B or later, top decile venture firm, where the artist or athlete is accessing a company that a traditional venture capitalist would never be able to access on their own, because this is a unique situation. We then have set of capital to invest alongside our artists and athletes. And in the beginning, we just asked, hey, do you mind if we write a check next to you? And they were like, oh my God, we didn't know you liked it so much. Of course. And then we called the company and they were like, well, I thought they were going to write a much bigger check. So we allocated more money. So then we started doing it. And when we realized, I think we're pretty good venture capitalists too. Like, we help sell downstream. We put our sweat into it with a much smaller check than the lead investor. I think dollar for dollar, we're pretty helpful. So we've gotten into this pattern where when it fits our mandate, we'll invest alongside our artists and athletes, but it always starts with them first. We'll never invest in a company if it's not made for an artist or an athlete. Like, if someone just invites Plus into a deal, like, we're not writing a check.
Got it. So I'm new to LA, and it's very striking how much the tech world in LA has more celebrity involvement. It's fun, but I haven't yet sorted out who's who. So there's business managers and there's lawyers who work with these celebrities. and advisors of different forms. Can you tell me, like, do you resemble an investment advisor, or who do you interact with? Like, is it always directly with the celebrity?
So we have a deal at Plus that we will not work on a celebrity without having a direct relationship with them. So just to answer your question, typically there's an agent, there's a manager, there's a business manager, there's an entertainment attorney, there's a publicist. There's a lot of people in their life. The main people that fee off them as a back-end participation are the four that I first said: agent, manager, business manager, and entertainment attorney. We started with entertainment attorneys and business managers because business managers are like the CFO. Entertainment attorneys are like the general counsel. Managers are like the head of business development. Agents are legally allowed to close deals for them. So they are the infrastructure for their sales. You know, they're their head of sales. Managers are more, understand the brand, right? And than anything else. Versus a business manager, which is handling the money. That's their infrastructure. That's their management team. We started by going to business managers and entertainment attorneys. Then we started to do more sweat equity deals. So we had to work closer with the managers, but we just handle it. Like we actually have an investment bank, a broker dealer that we set up last year because we believe that these are securities. The SEC and FINRA believe that if you're going to negotiate securities on behalf of someone and get compensated on it, you need to be registered broker dealer. So we went through all of that. We do have a lot of celebrities that introduce us to their friends now because we have that kind of relationship, but that's the industry. That was a long-winded way of taking you through the industry.
So now celebrities introduce you to their celebrity friends. So you've now got the coolest job around.
I have Amanda, Ryan, Jordan, like all of us. We think we have the coolest job. I mean, it's not a job. It's fun.
But so before this, though, you were really deep in this startup world, right? You were in tech. You were building an online store for tapes and CDs, which I found funny. Do you think there's a lot of similarities in the culture or a lot of differences now that you're kind of bridging both sides of the Hollywood and tech?
Oh, the culture is, to me, completely different. In 01, 02, when the dot-com crash came, a lot of people went back to big companies. Like when we started doing Launchpad, like you could count the people that were in the startup community on a couple hands. Like, I mean, it was like when we threw our dinners at Launchpad, it started with 30, 40 people, maybe got to 50, 60, 70 people. Like
I know them. Yeah, I know
a lot of those people. And you'll see a lot of those people around town that are just revered in terms of them being mentors in this community.
It's funny, but when I was growing up, everyone had a screenplay, and then I moved to San Francisco where everyone has a business plan they want you to read. Do you think like there's better ways of building bridges between the two communities? Should other people be doing more of what you're doing?
Yes and no. Like when I think of Hollywood and I think of the artist community, I think of technology, I always called it the imagination economy, right? In Hollywood, you can take a script that says, here's these blue people on a planet, and it becomes Avatar. And here's, Evan saying, here's disappearing photos, and it becomes Snapchat. These are both imaginations. These are ideas that need a different kind of execution to get to scale. But I don't think from a business perspective, like do digital media companies and startups have to do more together? I actually don't think there's a lot of venture capital backable media. Like we're seeing it a lot. It's hard to do media as a venture capital backable business. Just like music is a tough venture capital backable business. So I would say aerospace, yes, right? There's a lot of industries that are LA dominant industries like aerospace that I would prioritize over Hollywood to be more ingrained in the tech community. Right now it's a looky-loo thing, right? You have a lot of celebrities wanting to get involved in tech and not necessarily for the right reasons. And we actually avoid having someone write a check into a company just because it's cool. Like we want them to do it because it's something they're passionate about. Because just like what happened with COVID, like all of a sudden valuations are changing and, oh my God, there's going to be a pay to play. And you have people freaking out when it's about money. But when it's about the passion or the mission, they're like, well, what are we going to do to fix this? But backing entrepreneurs became cool, right? In the locker room, everybody starts talking about what companies they're invested in. at the parties, everyone's saying, but I'm invested in that company. I'm a backer of that company because it's cool, and cool fades. So it's got to be about more than cool.
Yeah, actually, that was one question I did want to ask. I see some similarities. I just did Deb Benton. Do you know her? She was the president and COO of Nasty Gal.
Yeah.
And Shoe Dazzle with Kim Kardashian. And we were talking about how people can really get beat up in the media. and obviously Kim Kardashian and Sophia Amoruso are big celebrities in their own right. But, we always talk about our startup founders needing to build grit. What do you see working with celebrities? Celebrities get totally beat up at times. Do you think there's either lessons learned there or things you've seen with the media turning on people that we can learn from?
Well, that's a good question. It's a tough question. I mean, look, I'm biased, but I think Ellen DeGeneres has done more for this world in her lifetime than most human beings. And she's getting beat up right now, right? And I know she's got an incredibly compassionate heart. And I know she just loves to do good for others. She's lived through enough in her lifetime that she is not going to complain, and she's not going to even sit there and go, oh, woe is me. She's just going to, like she did this week, she's going to apologize and do better because she's all about the mission. I think that lesson goes to entrepreneurs, which is like, you're not used to it. If you were, like, just like artists and athletes are not used to the things that you've been beaten down on. Like, this is my third black swan event in my lifetime. I lost everything in the dot-com crash. I lost so much in the 08-09 financial crash. And I feel guilty about it, but everybody in the world wants to work with us right now because they're home and they are passionate about changing the world. So I'm having, I'm working it every minute of every day, including weekends. So you just have to live through these moments to understand them. So I think the lessons that you can translate between artist and athlete and entrepreneur is, if you haven't gone through it many times before, you're not going to be great at it. You're not going to understand it fully. You just have to be more of a study of history and other people in their shoes than having to always learn through your own experiences.
I think you made two different points, though. I think your first point was and maybe I got it wrong.
By the way, I do that. I always forget what I'm talking about.
Well, no, but I'm not sure I got this right. But there was something about, as your celebrity grows, you're more media figure. Some people love you, some people hate you. You get used to that fact that you're not always a darling or something.
Correct. You're going to be taken down by somebody.
Right. And whereas the startup CEOs sometimes really do become media darlings overnight and get crapped on the next day.
They're just not used to it.
They're not used to it, right? So you just go through it. But I guess my point is, can you really just study history and learn that? Or do you just have to go through and you get better at being resilient by getting crapped on Sundays?
Yeah, I think I find that there's some people that are calm under pressure and are studies of history, and they've figured out a path and they have a plan. I'm not one of them, by the way. I'm very emotional. I have to go through something. And my team will tell you I am terrible at planning and process. So I just look at those people and I think, you ask yourself, well, how did Brian Chesky just get through what he just got through at Airbnb and did this incredible severance package and he put great people around him. He learned from others. He took advice. He didn't have experience in that. I
mean, I think that sometimes when I talk about, oh, so-and-so is really smart, what I really mean is they're able to absorb that information and learn from it.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So, okay, so you've done a lot of mentorship, as you were saying. Were you the mentorship in chief or something like that at Launchpad?
Mentor-in-chief, yeah.
Mentor-in-chief. I love it. What do you find, what sort of advice do you find yourself giving nowadays more?
I loved being the first check, and I loved being there when people were first getting a product launch. I mean, it's a personal passion of mine. I probably manifests in my ability or my time that I put in with artists that are launching their own brands or their own companies as founders, because I get to do that with them. But really, my time is spent advising people on structure. My mentorship comes in the form of helping people find that fit, find resolution on that fit, find scale through that fit. And honestly, I get just as much, if not more, joy out of it because the tangible results are so quick. When you see, it's funny. I'll be sitting and watching TV with my kids, and 5 brands will show up in the course of an hour that I had talked to that founder in the last week. I had worked on something really cool that made that happen. Like, I was always the early stage guy. So now working on this is just a new fun chapter for me. So that's my mentor.
Do you think, I mean, this is a hard question. I don't know if you live your life this way, but do you think about things that you wish you were spending more time on?
On the things I wish I spent more time on, yes, years and years ago, but I've corrected that. Like, the only thing I wish I spent more time on is my family. And I'm trying really hard in this new chapter of my life to do it. When I was a startup founder, I spent 360 of 365 days, working, and it was stupid. Like, it was the wrong balance. Like, a mentally mistake. Like, you think I have to, if I'm not working right now, I'm failing. Like, again, things you didn't get mentorship from or learn from other people. That was one of my mistakes. But now the only thing I look at is, am I giving up an hour of my time that I could be with my kids and my wife? But when you love what you do, it's not a job. When you have a mission, whether it's a job, a nonprofit, a hobby, whatever it is, when you get to spend time on something you love, it doesn't feel like work. And when you get to do it at the highest level, I got lucky, right? I mean, again, timing tied to luck. One of the first artists, if not the first artist, I got to work with directly through this model was Ellen. And so, getting the next one being blank was the question from the business manager, the manager, the entertainment attorney, or the agent was, well, who do you work with? And it took me a year before I even asked, is it okay if I use your name? Like, I didn't. Yeah. And in the agency world, you may not even work on that person, but if they're a client at the agency, you're calling and going, I represent Ellen DeGeneres. I never used it because I came from startup. You don't open your mouth unless you think you got something there. And so they said, well, I can't say everybody, but I work with Ellen DeGeneres. And they said, can I call the business manager, Harley Newman, or can I call her lawyer, Kevin Yorn? I said, here, give him a call. And I put him on an email. And then I got the next client and the next client. And so I got lucky. I got to start at scale with people who can change the world.
And where do you think you want to be in 5 years? Do you want to just be doing the same, or do you have a vision for how this evolves?
I do have a vision for how it evolves, but it's more on the same mission. Like, everything that we do is around how do you put the great founders and great operators together with the great amplification artists and the great artists and athletes that have that amplification. And that can be us growing more around the world. That could be growing into more categories. That can grow into more stages. We're working on something with a public company right now.
So you've seen the power that these celebrities have. Do you ever yourself, does celebrity appeal to you, or the closer to you, does it appeal to you more or less?
I never came from Hollywood. I'm not the person who goes and hangs out with celebrities because they're celebrities. To me, they're just people. We care about what they can accomplish. And to me, that's what I care about celebrity. It's really the social capital and trust that they have.
Well, it's great. And it seems like a very natural fit to be building this in the LA market. So it's great to have you on the LA Venture podcast. I could keep asking you questions for hours, but I think I'll let you go back to your regular life here.
Oh, thank you. I'm big fans of TenOneTen, so thanks for having me.